This meeting is being recorded.
All right, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Spoken Truth. Let's dive into those Heatles. They are right now up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics, and Jimmy Butler has been playing out of his mind in these playoffs right now. Um, there's been a lot, as far as this team, you know, blaming the play-in, losing their first play-in game, and then being the eighth seed. They will be the first play-in team to ever reach the NBA Finals if they were to finish this job against the Boston Celtics. So I guess my question to you guys would be, what have you seen in this series that it's been so decisive, other than what we saw last night? The Celtics came back and won, but we've seen 4 games of this and it's been so overwhelmingly in favor of Miami. Why has that been the case?
Go ahead, Tuna.
Nope, all you, Chess.
Well, to me, it's been the same thing that we've seen with this Miami team over the last several years, and that's just that they're physically and mentally tougher than their opponent in almost every single game. I think it's hard to argue that they have a better roster than the Celtics. And then, Boston has 2 of the 3 best players on the court at most times, and yet Miami is still able to figure out a way to best them, to limit them on offense, to frustrate them on the other end of the floor. Tatum and Brown, it seemed like they were broken for like 8 straight quarters. They just weren't able to get the shots they wanted. They were settling. And to me, that's just a factor of Miami being so physically draining on their opponents. And this is something that we've seen over the last few years, like I said, since really they signed Jimmy Butler and they went on that 2020 bubble run. To me, they match up against a team that it seems like the other team probably has the advantage. Boston has better players, probably better depth. They have the home court advantage. They're coming off a finals appearance last year. They beat Miami in the conference finals last year. So it seemed like a lot is leaning in Boston's direction. And Miami just kind of comes out there and punks them. They steal game 1 on the road. And then they kind of just took the Celtics' life in game 3 to me. It was nice to see Boston actually show some fight last night in game 4. Because to me in game 3, it looked like they just pretty much gave up on the season. And that's something that we've seen a lot against teams going against Miami. They just kind of take that out of you. They frustrate you so much that you're out of your game, that you're out of sync. And, they have guys like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, other guys that don't have the name recognition, undrafted players. It's been Caleb Martin this series. They just always have guys that step up. So I feel like we got to give so much credit to the Heat because coming into the series, I thought Boston was going to win it in 6 or 7. And for them to get down 3-0, it's been pretty impressive.
So, coming into this series, I had Celtics in 7. So, combining the Milwaukee series and the first 3 games of this series against Boston, the Miami Heat had shot 46% from 3 as a team. That's not real. That's not real. I'm sorry, that's not real. Gabe Vincent shooting 50% from 3. Sorry, Nigerian national team legend Gabe Vincent. Omanaja. All that being said, like that, come on, man. I understand that as a team, Miami shot kind of below their potential and below what a lot of these guys' career averages are. And so, you always get positive regression. I understand all of that. Some of this shit fake. They're gonna stop having a collective NBA jam fire shooting out of their ass at some point because that's just how this works. They just have to. With that being said, this is also, a coaching mismatch, and that's also showing up. One of the things that's really tilted this series is Boston's late game offensive issues, and the fact that they've really struggled with Miami's 2-3 zone. But Boston having late game offensive issues and fourth quarter offensive issues has been a problem for them for the last 4 years, and that's spanned over 3 different coaches. At some point, you do have to get better from the guys you're putting the ball into, your players. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have turned the ball over too often. We've seen before, especially with Jaylen Brown, like having issues in the half court due to not having a tight handle, and they've kind of reared their ugly head again for, some portions of this series.
Yeah, I think that conversation of the undrafted players needs to stop for this Miami team. They're NBA players. Doesn't matter if they were undrafted or not. Like, they're contributing in ways that I've rarely seen, role players contribute to a championship-ish caliber team, which I still don't think Miami is that. But again, they prove us wrong time and time again anyways. They got it this far. So obviously they have a really good player in Jimmy Butler. If we're just looking at the two teams, obviously I think we know that Boston is more talented. Like, they have the better roster. They don't have the better coach. Eric Spoelstra is just running circles around him, and definitely showed in the first three games. I mean, Boston hasn't played this bad since they lost game 4, 5, and 6 in the NBA Finals last year. Those first three games, of this series. So I got to give all the credit to Miami. Their culture, like, is second to none. It's second to none. They just play. They have dogs on their team. Like, I just like that they just go after it. So Miami is a team that it seems like it just hovers around in the regular season. They shot awful from three in the regular season, and then it's something about the playoffs that they just hit a different switch, And Pat Riley is just a genius at recruiting individuals that want to play Heat basketball. Like, it's not pretty. Like, they're not going for flashy. They're going for Rough Riders. They're going for dogs. And he's found gems in Max Strus and, these the other undrafted individuals that they have on their team. So Duncan Robinson has came in and contribute like massively to this team. I don't even know if Tyler Hero's ready or not. I don't even know if they should come in to disrupt this flow. Like, I don't even know what putting him into that lineup will do to this team that they are already on a roll. I think if they were to beat Miami, if he's ready for an NBA Finals, then you can tinker with that. But as far as this series, I don't know if he's even ready. But as far as if this series goes a distance, I will let this Heat team be what it is until they end this series to go to the finals potentially. So I think Miami is obviously, I think they're going to win this series. I think they're going to win it in 6. But if they lose game 6, they lose the series, in my opinion. Like, if it gets to a game 6 and they lose it, I don't think they beat Boston in game 7. And then Sunday pick would be right. So for sure, it'd be right. But Miami, I have nothing bad to say about Miami. We're going to get into Jimmy Butler here in a little second. But Jimmy, I'm running out of things to say. Like, obviously, he's a superstar. Obviously, he's one of the best players in this world. Like, another day we can rank where he is. But Miami is just a team that clicks at the right time. They remind me of the 2019 Raptors for some reason. I don't even know why. Just they clicked at the right time. They had a guy in Kawhi Leonard who was virtually unstoppable. Jimmy Butler is virtually unstoppable. And they just compete at a high level. Like, despite the injuries or whatever the case may be that happened in the NBA Finals, like, they remind me of that team. So kudos to Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, them whole Miami team, because they're doing something right. And I knew after picking the Knicks in the second round, after I saw game 1, I said no. I literally texted the group chat like, no, Miami got this series. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've won like 5 game 1s in a row. So you never know if they do get to the finals, they find a way to steal game 1 at Denver. Maybe we are talking about a series that can go 6 or 7. I do think that they are going to have a chance in that. But yeah, Danny, I'm right there with you. I think all we can do is give this team credit for the way that they draft, develop players, and just get people to be game ready day in and day out. It seems like they are never the team that goes out and doesn't have the energy at the tip, or they go out and they don't look focused. It seems like they are always ready to go. Even in games that they lose, they're going to fight. And that's just all the credit to them. I mean, they're on the verge of doing something historic. Danny, you mentioned that. Um, I mean, before this season, the team had never even won a series after being in the play, and we saw the Heat and the Lakers do that this season. And now the Heat are actually going to get to the finals, it looks like. And not to mention that, they're also going to be the second 8 seed ever to get to the finals, joining the 99 Knicks. So, I mean, they're doing things that we've never really seen before.
I think one of the biggest travesties in the NBA is Eric Spoelstra's never been coach of the year. Like, this guy wins with LeBron, wins without LeBron. Like, he's not a product of LeBron. Like, and I think a lot of people, when LeBron came to Miami, they thought because when he left, like, oh, he was a product of Eric Spoelstra. This guy is good. Like, he is, if not, I think Tyronn Lue is the best coach in basketball, but damn near, like, Eric Spoelstra's like right there. Like, I don't know how you can even deny it anymore. Like, that guy is, his X's and O's schemes is just incredible. Like, they the one team that when they play zone, you like, this shit work. And then everybody else think they could play zone the same way they play. I'm like, no, I don't even know how they shaking it up to be different. It just looks different. Like, and we rarely see teams play as much. No team plays as much zone as they do. Like, you got to go back to college, to see that much zone played in basketball. Like, it's just incredible. Like, he knows his personnel. He knows what triggers them. He knows how to put his players in position to be successful. Like, he's an all-time great coach. He's a top 15 coach ever. Like, I don't even know what the list is, but I know he's on it. Like, for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And you guys both mentioned that zone, which, at times a zone can kind of not work and you have to come out of it quick because the other team is able to shoot over it or get to the gaps or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you're right. You're exactly right, Danny. I forget who I heard it from, but they played the most zone of any NBA team in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy that he's going to that as much as he is, and it seems like he's still able to, decide to do it at the right moment. I know that it didn't really work last night. It was frustrating the Celtics for a second, and then I thought, to give Joe Mazzulla some credit, he put Tatum back in when it seemed like he didn't know exactly if he should right then. And Tatum came in, and he was the biggest reason why they were able to start solving that zone. But that's kind of the rare instance that zone doesn't work for the Miami Heat. Usually, when Spoelstra decides to do it, it's going to get the team back into the game, or it's going to flip the script.
Absolutely. Sunday, last words?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that keeps coming back to me is, like, how much you have to beat Miami to beat Miami. You're never just going to get games where Miami just, hands you a victory. And a lot of teams say that, and it's, a quote-unquote culture thing. But from a scheme perspective, Miami is the antithesis of that concept. They throw everything at you. You might get full court pressure in the third quarter to see if they can throw you out of your rhythm and maybe force a turnover. You'll get a 2-3 zone. You'll get junk defenses. You'll get hard doubles on your, you'll get hard doubles on your best player. They'll load up on your best player. They might even throw a box and one at you, depending on the situation. There's so much that you have to do and deal with from a scheme perspective, and that's hard to navigate. That's really hard to navigate. Like a really underrated subplot of this series has been that Duncan Robinson has been able to be on the floor and not get attacked. And if you look at the minutes that they play with Duncan Robinson versus the minutes they don't play with Duncan Robinson, when Duncan on the court, Miami plays a lot more zone because, they want to try to hide Duncan a little bit and protect him defensively for the insane value that he brings them on the other end of the floor. Everyone's role is absolutely optimized to the best version of themselves on this Miami Heat roster. It doesn't help that the Heat spent the first 2 games playing a lot of their double big lineup, which is the lineup that made a lot of sense against Philly, but makes less sense against Miami because it gives Kevin Love a natural hiding spot. But it's hard not to look at Miami and be impressed, even if some of the shooting is unsustainable. Spo deserves his flowers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Danny,
Jackson.
you already said I think you have Miami closing us out in sixth, right?
Yeah, I have it in 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too. I think although I'm hesitant because Boston, I think they're like 4-5 at home in the playoffs. They haven't been good at home at all outside of a couple games. Obviously 0-2 in this series at home. I think I saw they're like 7.5, 8 point favorites tomorrow night, which I
Yeah.
think is too high. I'm leaning Celtics tomorrow night. I'm gonna go Miami in 6. Tunde, what are your thoughts on that? I know you have Boston in 7 coming in. Do you think that's still a chance? Or do you think Miami closes out in 5 or 6?
I think the most likely result here is that Miami closes out in 6.
Mm-hmm.
All that being said, I think we all know the stat. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. They always show it on your screen. You don't want to get down 3-0. If there was ever a situation in which a team was going to come back from a 3-0 deficit, it would look like this, right? Like the favored team, the quote unquote underdog team, is shooting at levels that are probably just not sustainable. They've been blowing fourth quarter leads and blowing leads in the series. Like it would probably look something like this, right? If there was ever going to be a team that came back from 3-0.
I don't think Miami has to shoot the lights out to beat Boston. I just think they can't shoot. I think they shot 25%, 20 something in the low 30s, something like that last game. Well, they shot terrible. Like they don't have to shoot 40+% from the three. They just have to not shoot like a low percentage number that they shot. A lot of those shots they simply just missed. And I could say the same thing about Boston. Like they had good shots in game 3. Like they had good shots in game 2. They just wasn't going down. So if Jason Tatum played better in the fourth quarter, we'll get a little bit into the Celtics in here in a second. But if he played better in the fourth quarter, maybe those games are different. Maybe the outcomes are different. But he scored his first fourth quarter points last night. So I mean, that's welcome to the series in the fourth quarter, Jason Tatum. You're a superstar. Act like it. So maybe if those first 3 games, if he played the way that he was playing, at least decently in those fourth quarters, maybe the series is 2-2, or maybe it is closer than what it is now. So I think the Celtics, they blew some opportunities because they were up in some of those games, and the Heat was just the better team when it was time to close. So there's no doubt. I think we all agree that Boston is the more talented team. The most complete, the more complete team. So I think if they both play their games, Boston should win. If they're both playing, Boston's not turning the ball over. If they're both playing their styles of basketball, I think Boston wins. I just, for the Heat's sake, I think they need to end it before 6. Because if it goes to a game 7, I think Boston wins. So
Yeah, I'm right there with you about the difference in a lot of these games being the clutch moments. I mean, Boston seemingly had game 1, and then Tatum traveled twice. He had another near travel, and the whole team just kind of looked out of sorts in game 1, fourth quarter. And then game 2, they were kind of trying to play catch up down the stretch. But that was a game that, that's pretty much a must win going down 0-1, trying to avoid going down 0-2 at home. And Miami was just tougher team. That's kind of been the story in that Denver LA series too. A lot of those games were really entertaining, close games throughout. The
down to
Lakers,
the wire.
yeah, Lakers had a great
All four.
game 1 and game 2, game 3 and 4 to another extent. But if the Lakers win one of those first 2 games, maybe we're talking about a different series. And they could not stop Jamal Murray in game 1, and then they couldn't stop Jokic in game 3 down the stretch. And game 4 was just a different story. So I'm right there with you that the tougher team in the clutch has been a lot of the difference in these games. Now, if Boston can find a way to flip that, and like you said, Danny, I think Miami was like 8-32 from 3 last night, and Boston was like 40%, and they made like 18 of them, I think. So if that continues to happen, then who knows? Maybe Boston can steal game 5 and 6 and turn this into a game 7. You never know. But to me, it seems like too tall of a task.
Yeah, I think Boston has. We're going to get into Boston issues next, but I think there's more to Boston than what I guess we see live playing out on the court. So I I think Miami closes it out. Let's just say because they got to in 6. Like you lose game 4, you sure 5, whatever. 6, close it out. It's on your home court. Just do what you need to do. You just don't want this thing going back to 7. Because I always say anything can happen in the game 7. Like you never know. So foul troubles, the way that the ref calls the game, anything can hinder your team from winning that game. It only takes one situation to turn a game completely upside down. So Miami needs to get it done. And I think the pressure's still on Boston. If it gets to a game 6, I think the pressure is on Miami to close. I think if they make it to a game 6, I think Celtics are playing with house money at that point. So
yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, tomorrow I'm really looking forward to the game 5 because to me neither team is really under that much pressure. I mean, Miami still has.
You don't think Boston's under any pressure?
I mean, if they lose, like you lose in 4 or 5, it's not really that much of a difference to me. I think if they win game 5, it could potentially save Joe Mazzulla's job. I mean, I don't think a coach's job should come down to one game, but I do really think if they lose that game, especially if they get blown out at home, I could see him getting fired.
I don't even think he's on a hot seat, really.
Oh, really? No, I've been hearing a lot.
Because here's the thing. That's why I say I think it's more to the Celtics situation internally, and I wanted to wait until we got to the Celtics to talk about it. But like, I don't think you could just blame Mazzulla for all of this. Like,
I agree.
But this who becomes the scapegoat? The coach does. Yep. So like, there's especially so much.
Especially a coach that has no experience, that you hired pretty much because of a scandal happened. So I could see him being the scapegoat.
Also, because he's thoroughly getting out coached by Eric Spoelstra. Like, he's refusing to double team Jimmy Butler, and everybody is screaming at their TV, double him. Like, when he's going off, like, what are you doing? Like, and I don't know. It's just so much for him. It's just like, I don't like the way he answers questions. I don't like the way he comes off as just being just so standoffish. Like, dude, nobody cares that you're mad. Like, your job is to answer the reporters' questions. Like, give them what they need for they could do their job. They're on deadline. I guess the journalist is coming out of me. Like, it's not just their fault because you're losing. Like, it's not my fault. Like, he answers all the questions with just like a snobby attitude. Like, I don't like that. Like, it's they're not doing this to you. You're doing this. Like, tell your team to play better. Like, or coach a better team or something. Like,
I feel like we got to put it, like you said, Danny, the bias disclaimer in that statement of
what?
the I don't like the way he answered journalist questions thing.
Well, Chaz, do you like the way he answered questions as a journalist?
No, but I can see why he has been frustrated. It seems like there's been a tension with the media going back a couple of months, especially with the local media. It kind of seems like they are trying to push him out a little bit. And then even the national media, it seems like the only time they talk about him is if it's a mistake made or coming off a loss or whatever the case may be. Like, Joe Mazzulla has not really gotten any of the credit for the team being a 2 seed or playing well when they have played well. He's pretty much only gotten the other side of it. So I can see that, but I definitely agree with you that it seems like he's frustrated, the moment he walks into those press conferences.
But here's why I'm not going to apologize, Tunde, and I'm not being biased, because I just said that the guy is not on the hot seat. Like, I just said, like, he don't even deserve to lose his job. I just don't like the way the guy is. I just don't like the way that the guy talks to people. Like, that's just human decency. Like,
your opinion on the whole situation is a minority opinion, according to what a lot of people have to say. Look, I think whether I think Joe Mazzulla should be the Celtics head coach next year is not that important, because there's a really key aspect to this discussion that no one's mentioned yet. They signed him to an extension in the middle of the season. They're not firing him.
That could be changed.
I mean, It could, but that's a lot of money. That would be a lot of money, guaranteed money that they'd have to pay a coach who, would no longer be employed by the team. I strongly doubt he'll be getting fired.
We'll
So.
see.
Yeah, you want to save that for next conversation?
Let's save it because I got a lot to say about the Celtics.
Anything else on the Heat?
No.
Tunde, you good?
Yep.